Right then, fellas, another sponsor for the pod is probably something you're very familiar with. If you're in the e-commerce space, it's certainly something I am. It's Wayflyer. Cashflow is the biggest killer of any fast-growing e-com brand, as I, probably more than most, know very fucking well. Go and watch episode 1 if you haven't already. Wayflyer is an e-commerce funding partner. Essentially, they can front you the cash for a month or so worth of sales. You need a minimum of 6 months sales, a minimum of 20 grand a month, I believe, right now. But if you've got a brand that you're super passionate about, you want to scale it quick, but cash is a problem, to invest in inventory, mainly marketing, overheads, team costs, whatever it is, you can get funded in as little as 2 to 3 days. It's literally that quick. No bullshit bank loans, no personal guarantees. I've worked with them personally in the past, took a 6-figure sum off them. Plenty of guys I know in my network and people that have been on the pod and run massively successful brands have also used them as a funding partner, because everyone knows at scale, cash flow is the biggest killer, even if you are profitable. If you think this could be a fit, potentially you could be a fit for them, then go click the link below, speak to the guys at Wayflyer. It's a referral link, so we get a little fee, you save a little bit as well. Support the pod, support your business. Cash is king, especially in this market. Let's fucking go. Right, we're back with the Midnight Pod, episode 73. We have Shan, Hanif from Genflow and a million other things. Ollie is back as well. I thought you were going to flake on this episode again, but it's nice to have a co-host.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I feel like you have a very intense blend of things we could speak about, and probably many things that, unlike a lot of our episodes, we probably can't speak about because you work with a lot of interesting, famous, influential people from different areas, like e-com, SaaS, I guess personal branding, YouTube, a lot of other shit, which is like this podcast blended into one episode potentially. So this is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, what's going on? It's good to be here. Yeah, I'm excited. I think just for everyone, I'm Shan, CEO of Genflow. I guess, I built my own agency. It's been 7 years of doing it. We're worth more than 100 million. I employ 100 plus people. So it's been a crazy journey. But in that time, what we do is we help creators, the people that you follow on Instagram, YouTube, etc. We help those guys make money online. We pretty much do everything from starting your own business, starting your own software company, working with brands. We do kind of like the trifecta. So, and we pretty much work with the top 1% creators in the world. That's the focus. We call them mega creators. To us, a mega creator is someone who can sell at least $250,000 a year. That's the minimum if you want to be a client at Genflow, essentially.
Just organically?
Nice.
Yeah, just through their own channels. So if you can't do that, then essentially we don't work with you, or we just drop you, basically.
Do you think, I'm already going deep, we'll go into your background in a second, but do you think there's way more influencers that can't do that people looking from the outside would think could, because they have big numbers, but actually they're not very influential? Is there a lot of them?
There's a lot of them, 100%. I think it's a misconception that creators can't make money. You can make lots of money.
But as in, is there lots that are really bad at it though, because they've got a massive following but they just don't know how to monetize an audience?
Yeah, I think there's lots that don't know how to monetize, yes. It doesn't mean that they can't, they just don't know how, the right way, for sure.
Yeah.
They can do what a lot of people in our world probably thinks the harder bit, which is generate a lot of awareness, but I can't do the bit that we find a little bit easier, which is like generate the money, I guess.
You're right. I think that's essentially why the business even worked in the beginning, because my background, a bit like I guess you guys, was I was making my own product, selling it, but I was like a eBay, Amazon power seller. Growing up, I was buying things from China, selling it online, starting a makeup brand. I used to stand in Spitfields markets and sell them. I've did it all. So when this opportunity kind of came, it was second nature for me to be like, okay, these guys have audiences, surely they can sell to these people. So I came with the knowledge and understanding of manufacturing, logistics, development, learn how to code. So yes, so
they bring the final piece to that puzzle. I think they bring the two of the hardest things, like high intent audience that are very engaged with their content and the ability to create community. And those two things are two of the most powerful things. And even like D2C e-com, like, if you can build a community and you can have a highly engaged audience, you're doing probably the hardest thing. One of the hardest
Honestly,
things.
That's why it's a win-win, because that cost of acquisition is nil.
And then you put ads on and your CPM's about 2p. And then you start
I think the retargeting, you do custom audiences of people's, like, we have one creator, she has 14 million on TikTok, 4 million on Instagram. We launched an app. When we're retargeting those people, like, it's so warm. It's the most fun thing to do if you're in digital marketing or anything, because like people that work for us, they come from normal jobs. They're like, what? Like, how much audience is there? Like, I could do what? What's the email list? Oh, it's 400,000 people. Like, what? 400,000 people on the email list? It's so easy from that point of view, for sure.
It's crazy. I wish I'd focused on YouTube when I was 17 years old and fucking built a massive audience.
Compound growth, yeah.
Yeah, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Go back before that.
Yeah.
You used to be an accountant, I was reading.
Yes.
How do you go from that world into this world, which feel like polar opposites, and like...
Yeah, so...
How did that happen?
Obviously, growing up, many people have this story. Obviously, parents think education is important. It was important for them to kind of make something of their lives. My parents are doctors. They're both educated. So they thought that's like the way to succeed. So I knew I had to go to university. I ended up picking accounting because it was like the money side of business. So by then I was already hustling. I was already making money online. When I was in college, I was making about $5,000 a month. And that was about 2006. So like... it's a lot of money. I bought my car, we're going on holidays, like enjoying life. Then I had to go to university, picked accounting. But I was like, I'm going to do it. So I ended up getting a job here in London in a firm that focused on tech startups. And essentially that's how I kind of fell into the world of tech startups, SaaS, raising money, businesses, like what is all of this? And I worked on Jamie Oliver's app. He was one of our clients. I worked on GSP, the MMA fighter. So I fell into apps before and subscriptions. I remember with Jamie Oliver launched £2 a week subscription. It was the first subscription almost on the App Store ever. And Apple was commissioning companies to be like, please develop on the App Store, do some new stuff that we're doing. So yeah, I guess the accountant that's kind of like how it happened. But I was lucky enough to work for some amazing startups. And our firm was like, you go to the company and sit with them and work. You almost don't work in your own office.
Like fractional almost.
Yeah, so every week I would be in a different company's office, sitting and working with them. So like my mum was City Mapper.
Yeah.
So I was there when the 3 people were at City Mapper is when I was deployed.
Keep going.
That's so good. I feel like accounting's a solid kind of base for... I'd say it's one of the best bases in terms of formal education to come into business from. Like, it's what I probably wish I'd done if I was to do university again.
Yeah, because to be honest, that's my biggest strength is financials, and that means you know how to run your business properly.
In hindsight, I wish I'd done that after what happened 2 years ago.
As well. It's where people get found out.
It's definitely most founders' weaknesses.
Yeah.
I think it was my weakness, 100%.
So many people don't understand the difference between cash and like profit and loss.
Yeah. Cash flow.
You know, like the difference between you sell something now, you record that sale now, but if the money comes in 2 months, that's the money. And like, what? Like, and that even every creator, we have the same conversation because they have no basic financial understanding.
Or like contribution margin, like not everything you sell produces the same amount of cash flow.
I didn't realise how little I knew about that shit until I started working with good people, i.e. Seamus, for example.
Yeah.
And I was like, hold on. I thought I knew how to read a P&L properly, and there's so much more to it.
That's a lot of people get found out in that. Yeah.
So I think it was a good base. So yeah, I guess the story from there, I finished my ACCA, became a qualified accountant. I gave my notice that same day. And the big idea in 2014 was I was a massive bodybuilding.com user.
Yeah, I used to be as well.
And
those plans.
Yeah, and I guess the thing that was struck to me was we're here on this forum trusting like other random dudes, but not like a professor on Amazon that has a book on this stuff. Because some guy named Ziz is saying blah blah blah, drink this, eat this, or drink your protein 30 minutes after a workout in water, otherwise it's not going to work. And now I was fascinated by that, so I left my job. The idea was I wanted to build a social media network which allows you to also sell to each other, and that's what I launched first. It was called Nom Nom, and made it myself at home, launched it. And we got to about 50,000 monthly active users. And it was pretty much like this, sitting in an apartment, had a couple of interns come every single day. I was just like trying to build this thing. And then I realized I'm doing up against the wrong thing, that I'll never win in social. And then Instagram was getting more and more popular. There's me trying to I remember I developed swipe posts and I was so like, wow, this is it. This is my big thing. Obviously years later they did it. I still remember, it sounds strange, but like profile pictures, I did them hexagon. And I was like, this is like, you look for little things to be like why I can be better. I realized that's the wrong game. I always knew about buying and selling, etc. So I thought instead, let me help creators sell stuff. And the concept was, if you make free content, there should be paid content. And again, this is so early, there was no way for people to sell content. So that's why I launched in October 2016, which is what Genflow is today. So I emailed about 1,000 creators. Obviously 100,000 then was like 5 million now. And I was like, look, you create this content. And I went after the fitness space because of the bodybuilding understanding. So I went to people and said, hey, you create this fitness workouts, etc. Why didn't you sell that? And people were like, what do you mean? They thought I'm saying sell a spreadsheet. I was like, no. I was like, I can build you a user experience. So if someone buys it, on the other side, there'll be an actual experience, meaning that there's workouts, you can check videos, etc. And it was one of the first ever workout experiences. It was called Athlete. It's still live today. We launched that, so you would buy on the creator's website and you download the app, log in and access the content. So it's like the first ever gated content. And this was October 2016. I worked with, don't know if you know, like Andre Dio. He was a big bodybuilder. He's got like 5-6 million followers now. Grace Beverly, Natasha Ocean, Hannah Oberg. Essentially all the early Gymshark athletes were all our clients selling programs with us. And that's kind of how the business started.
Did you just quit being an accountant overnight, or was it like a gradual, you started hustling on this nom thing and then you saw it had legs and then you went
I'm a big believer of like this whole thing of you build a business on the side and like slowly leave one day, or side hustles, etc. Like I just don't think you can build a real business like that. So I think I left because I was like, I have to do one thing and put all my energy into it.
Burn the boat kind of vibe, all in.
That's what I did 6 years ago. We had a clothing brand together in uni. That's how we first met. And then you stayed at uni and I fucked off. I went all in
for a bit.
You came round in the end.
Yeah, and so for me it was it's because it was impossible. I was like, I had qualified my accounting stuff and that's why I stayed. It was never because I'm scared of what's going to happen and all that stuff. Like, I'll make it work.
So who was the first actual ever client of Gen? Was it called Nom Nom in the same? It was the same business. It was called Nom Nom, or did you just rebranded over time? I
rebranded at the time. And moved to Genflow essentially. So I guess funny enough, the first creator we ever launched with was actually in Texas. So there's a random girl who convinced her to like sell some fitness stuff. She was the first one that went live, and I remember we sold like, I think it was like $3,000 or something in a day. And I was still a bit like, I'm not too sure about this. When it all came together was 26th December 2016. We sold 25,000 with a creator. And I was sitting at home and I remember thinking like, this is it. No one knows about this, that you can sell this much from a creator putting up a post and it just sells. There's no cost, there's no nothing.
And that's a digital product.
It's a digital product, yeah. I wasn't even called that in those days, right? Like obviously info product, digital product, all this is after. So yeah, that's what it was. So, and coming from a business degree, coming from seeing all these startups raise so much money, having all this cost, and all of a sudden I've done something that essentially there's no cost, is pretty much profit only. And that was it. Then it was like a rinse and repeat from there for like 2 years straight to build a business.
What was the model fundamentally then? Was it a revenue share? Was it a fee per whatever?
Yeah, one of the best things I think I've ever done, and I would say this to, and obviously lots of people make content on this. For me, even till this day, we take a percentage of, if now it's different, it's like revenue or profit, or it could be a range of things, but yes, a percentage base. So we both are in it for the same reason versus a traditional like retainer for service fee.
Yeah. Would you take equity?
We do take equity now, but I didn't back then, no. It would have been like too complex back then to like start talking about equity.
Yeah.
So for me honestly it's very like, let's make the money. I've always been a believer of make the money, figure out the rest afterwards, because when you're making someone money, all that stuff is easy. So many people lose deals at contract stages, when what I do is just get it done and live and then worry about it afterwards, and it actually works. Also, one of my strategies always is to charge less and then increase over time, and it always works, versus saying I'm worth this much, so if you don't pay me this much, like no, because I know my worth, or the company, or we should raise your prices this much. I'm the complete opposite. You should charge the least possible that you can afford to, and that's worked wonders for me, because the same creator that I may have charged 10%, maybe today we're on 40% or 30%.
Yeah.
It's just over time you can prove your worth.
How do you get in the room with the first people when you've got I guess at that point, not even a proof of concept?
I'll be honest, so my whole thing is like showing then telling. Even to this day, like today, honestly, just before this, I spoke to, she's one of the biggest creators in the world, and I would never get on a phone call and start like asking questions to then come back with the pitch. And that's the classic mistake that people make in the agency space. you're trying to like get the brief, or you're trying to like figure out what is it that they want. Then you're going to come with your solution, your package, with your price point or whatever else. For me, it's always show. So I think what I did in the early days and what I do now, like I would literally make a landing page, and on the first phone call, I'd be like, hey, how's it going? I love it, can't love your shit. Guess what I made for you? And I just show it to them. Then I'm like, I would sell this product. I even make them a cover. I'll sell it for $27, and this is what I would do. Do you like it? And so guys were like, yeah, I like it. Like, cool. So this is what you need to do next. And they're like, okay. So I literally pretend like we're already working together. That's the way to, obviously how to get them on the call. You know, you have to work on emailing people and all that stuff, and your outreach has to be, again, problem solving, not selling services, if that makes sense. And then when you get on it, you're just showing. That's been my probably biggest strategic hack.
And it was just you doing everything at that point, in terms of creating the product with them, marketing it.
Yeah, I was quite lucky. Obviously, I've probably had my core team with me now probably like 4 to coming up to 5 years. So in the early days, it was me, and I had some team members. But then I guess 2018 is where most of my core team joined, who are still with me today.
Who's in that core team?
It's like my leadership team. Essentially, we're split between like functions. So I have one guy who runs all my product, meaning physical product. And we have 5 warehouses and obviously thousands and thousands of SKUs and all of that world. Have one guy that runs digital product in a similar way. Have one guy that runs brand strategy. So that's for our bigger brands, you obviously strategically to forecast the numbers, running them, all the creator stuff. And within that, we also manage all the creator relationships. Have someone who manages all brand partnerships, so all our relationships with the brands and everything we do there.
Yeah.
So it's a nice split. Then I have like kind of like a COO. She manages pretty much the whole business operationally. So that's, and then I have CFO. Then I have a board. So yeah, it's like fully set up.
Nice. I think that show not tell is a great idea. We do a bit of that for our content agency. It's just like most other people won't do that, won't go that far. So by just doing it by default, you put yourself ahead of pretty much everything.
Didn't you run ads for free to start with?
Yeah, we run ads for free. We don't do that anymore because I feel like that's like proper not knowing your worth. But we'll still do like, we will go low and then just grow as we get trust and as we also get them results. But we'll make free content. We'll make free UGC. We'll make free high production ads. We'll also use that and distribute it so other people can see it. And it's like compounding effect. It's not the same. We don't get to the same depth as you because we don't do as many like functions or areas of the business, so it's harder. But it's kind of like one of those things where you say it and it's like that's just a really simple concept, but no one does it. Right? And it works.
My experience with other agencies has been is that people say they're going to do this, they're going to do that, but no one follows through. Like I even spoke to an agency long ago. Yeah, they were like, we can do this for you, that for you, we get you UGC creators, etc. I was looking at a brand, so I was like, for one of our brands, like, all right, go ahead. And people just don't follow through. Like, they say everything.
Yeah, because they prioritise new clients, not LTV. Like they prioritise more and more new relationships and less focus on people who are already working with them.
Yeah.
It's a mindset shift that people can't get into.
It's the hardest thing. I think it's so easy to come up with a good offer if you know how to sell, create a good landing page, like get some clients, get going, and people immediately switch to like, I'll start selling how I did it because they start struggling to actually do the thing itself. It's the most common thing I've seen, in the agency space.
Yeah, for sure. You mean referring to all these agency gurus who run an agency for a month, then they find it's hard to scale, so they sell how to do it.
Pretty much.
Which is probably more profitable. Just on that then, so you started with info products. When and why did you move into physical products as well? Because there's pros and cons to both for sure. But what was the first physical product? And was that just a natural progression because you found an influencer that wanted to do that? Because I always say, like, I run a physical product business. Because I run a physical one, I wish I did digital products. And it'd probably be the same if I ran digital products. I want something tangible.
I think for me, the whole business has been come out of the need from our creators from the very beginning. So we were doing digital. It became obvious that the same people that I'm working with can sell physical stuff. So we just naturally leaned into it. There was no like, that's the big thing we're going after. It's like, I know how to do it. I've done it before in my life before. So why not? And I think also I've been privy to lots of stuff, you know, so I knew how much people were selling for Gymshark, for instance. I'm like, you just sold 100,000 for them. Surely if I work the numbers and you sold your own item, you'll actually make more cash in your pocket versus your 4% commission or whatever. So they're just seeing it in front of you. So you're like, I could do that. And then a lot of people will be like, yeah, let's do it. So it kind of just came out of that. It was never a...
And who was that first one? Was it Grace?
I think very first was, I think it was some clothing and stuff for some randoms. But yes, then I guess with Grace, what was a big hit was we almost was like the first people to start selling like a cloth resistant band. Which sounds like very intricate. But in those days, there were only rubber ones. So I remember me and her were like having a chat. We were like, okay, we're selling thousands of programs, millions of dollars worth. All these girls, glute activation was like a new concept in the world. They're like, what is that? What do you mean? So it was kind of, I've always been a believer of trying to create something functional product versus just a nice to have product. That's why I've stayed away from merch. We've like never done merch as a business because merch is just not a product. It's super fans will buy. There's no repeat purchase. You can make some money in it, but it's just, there's no like, I guess you do like Nelk's merch, of course you make lots of money, but I don't know, other people just won't.
Yeah, it's like top 0.00.
Exactly. So, and we did MAV for Logan in the same way, but if I was to do merch, I'd want to do it more branded and properly, but still only like the certain percentage could sell.
That's
merch,
like,
quote unquote.
That's like community backed, isn't it? Merch, where it's like snowball impacts, like has kind of a higher message to it, I guess.
But I think the truth is what merch sells today is actually it's full brand, but it kind of feels merchy. But yeah, I guess we did a resistant band, obviously sold hundreds of thousands of units of that, and it was a massive success. And yeah, from there done lots of stuff. But then now what we do, I have many activewear brands, supplement brands. Supplement brands are stocked in Superdrug, Holland & Barrett, Selfridges. We're going into Sainsbury's, stocked in UAE, sell on Amazon as well. We did a little bit of beauty, lots of like high fashion stuff, like dresses and stuff at high prices. So I guess now I have like departments for different things. So I have a nutrition team, an apparel team. We do all that stuff.
I'm assuming you have a pretty like in-depth process in terms of like, I'm going to onboard this person, how you do the research, decide on what products, what niche. I guess there again, that's where you like.
I have so many questions about this.
You have this like,
you
have this like massive leg up even in that process where you've got a lot of people who probably would answer your questions if you're actually like, what do I do?
It was a big problem, right? So like, how do I scale the business? And I have to be smart about this. So essentially, we built our own algorithm. It's called Genlytics, and essentially we can pull any creator's data from any platform. And analyze it, and that's what we do. So I can see immediately if someone has. So I'll tell you someone who can sell you the question of like, if you have an audience, can you monetize it? So we're trying to guess how much someone's audience worth is, and the way we do that is a number of things. You look at how much same sex following, how much same location following, and then you look at the interest overlap between the creator and then the creator's own interests and then the interest of the audience.
Like affinity in a way.
Yeah, so, and then alongside that, we do stuff like, so let's say I'll run an example. You're a 27-year-old guy who has 70% male following, 45% live in the UK.
You should probably check my actual numbers, it sounds quite accurate.
And then you have you have a few certain interests like startups or business or podcasting, etc., etc. If I've worked with a guy like that before, I know how that audience converted. So I know that audience did $700,000 in a year. So from that, we can over time have been learning, and I can apply like the next time I come across another 27-year-old with a similar thing. It doesn't even have to be similar countries, but similar like statistically, you can start to draw parallels of like
really strong benchmarking.
Yeah, basically, and start building from there. So I think that's our like secret weapon. So right now I have an outreach team. Their job is to search using Genlytics, and the moment someone pings as what we think is good, then we'll try to go after that person, trying to sign them, email, DM,
is it
intros and that kind of stuff.
Influencer before brand/product idea, or do you come up with a brand/product idea and go, they'd be a great person to front this?
Influencer first, surely. Audience first.
And how does that influencer even?
I think both in reality.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes it's fully from the creator. Like I'm working with Ali Abdel right now. We sat down and he was like, he wants to do XYZ. I was like, interesting. Didn't think about that as a thing. We went and did some research, looked at the market, look at the exits, look at what people are doing, and it's like, okay, let's do it. Should be out in a few months, but and that's an example of that. Or it's the other way, like, you know, this space with Cognizant and all this stuff is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's like, I'm interested in that, been interested in it, team's been looking in it, we've already sourced the factories, the ingredients and stuff, and it's like, okay, we don't know the format, is it going to be powder, is it going to be a drink, is it going to be tablets, and then let's find the right people. Then sometimes it happens naturally, so it's a bit of both.
Nice.
In reality, yeah. I'm very fluid, or agile is probably the word, like, doesn't really matter, like, it could be either way.
And how, before a new partnership appears, are they coming to you? I assume now you get a lot of influencers pitching you, but how was that originally? Would they come to you, or would you go and find them? Or
I think I've been quite blessed that when we have some big successes like Grace Beverly or others, people come to you quite easily, because especially in those days it was like, how are you doing this? People were like, oh, I'm working with Shan, I'm doing this, and they're like, oh, interesting. So we grew from inbound. This is last year was the first year I hired people to start outreaching to try to sign creators. And the history of the business, we've spent about £70,000 in 7 years in marketing. The whole business has been grown by
ruthlessly big case studies. So
basically like just proof. Proof is in the market. You know, like you don't even need to like we don't even honestly never even created case studies, because the case study is in the public.
Yeah, you can see it. It's like just a PR, like Morbid's PR. I imagine carry a lot of weight.
And on a typical, probably got about a million questions. I'm trying to pick the good ones. Is there a baseline deal structure you'll do, or is it bespoke every time?
I think at this point it's bespoke every time, because my biggest concern right now is that we don't bring a creator in who like sucks our time and the return on investment isn't there for us. Because it is honestly at this moment the business is wherever we put the most attention into almost will like have the biggest growth, because we've moved from there to helping the creator actually grow their audience as well. So now we do full social media management, YouTube channels, scripting, etc., like podcasting. Like we're doing that final step as well to get more distribution. So yeah, it's very agile.
That's a really, really smart move. Very simple thought process, but like to pivot into that just multiplies.
Because when you have something working, the ceiling normally is either we start paying lots for ads, or we trying to grow the audience. Obviously we are trying to convert more of the audience, and that's ongoing. But it's like while that's happening, and the smart thing is to grow audience and
drive down costs. And
do you find you get a better return from many smaller ones, or like the odd unicorn, someone like Logan or anyone else?
I think that's probably the hardest part of it all in reality, because some people that you think are going to be big. So I think if you don't sell 250,000, like we remove them anyway, so it's not worth our time, because it means even if I was taking 20%, that's 50,000 a year for us. If you don't make 50,000 from a single creator, then they can't really be a client in general sense. So the way we work is a lot more strategically. So we have a forecast per creator to understand how much we think they're going to sell or deliver. So on that basis, the decision is kind of already there, because you've already got mapped out that these 20 guys are going to deliver me 20 million and these 3 are going to deliver me 30 million. So we do see that for sure. And then it's kind of like a balancing act between that.
Then how is every brand and business in itself structured then? So they all their own entities under this Genflow umbrella?
No, so that's only if you take equity.
Right.
Yeah, otherwise it's their business, it's our business.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
Your third model is rev share. Kind of rev share, profit share, but then a small amount of equity yield.
Basically,
makes sense.
And I guess structured in different ways too, but and sometimes we're investing, sometimes we're not. You'll be surprised about how much people are willing to invest in their own stuff now. Like the world has just changed from when I first started. Now sitting with the creator and saying it'll cost you 500,000, do you want to do it? They're like, yeah, let's do it. It's that instant now that people so badly want to do their own business, which is great.
And how are you splitting your team on new projects? Is it like every apparel brand is under a team you have, and they'll just split their time, every supplement brand, every ebook brand, whatever it is? Yeah. Or are you literally hiring a team for every brand itself?
I guess it would be interesting just to go one step back. Like, what's your kind of obviously you've talked about your C level. What's like the functions you own? Like, where do you go deep in a relationship? Do you go deep on product, but then
as in me
like,
personally?
As in like the business itself? Like, do you own everything for them? Do you kind of...
Our biggest thing is everything is in-house.
Everything, yeah.
So we run the ads, we create all the content, we'll shoot it, we'll edit it. We just have our hands on everything ourselves. Never worked with third parties, generally speaking. I've done now for the first time myself on like some content stuff, so like a little bit, but on like the main stuff within the business, keep it in-house. My personal focus is more around tech, because that's my natural instinctive thing and I'm very good at it.
Yeah.
So like product and that kind of stuff I kind of stay a little bit away from, just because knowing what fabric it is for the band on someone's high-waisted legging is like not my speciality.
Yeah,
I can tell you what we'll sell and stuff. Yeah. So I think the other question, I think a bit of both. So we have specialist teams that deliver certain things, but on the commercial side, we do have dedicated teams. But when I say commercial side, because you don't need a dedicated person like on product to make one sort of thing. That's actually quite limited. So the way it works is almost like that my teams are delivering things to like the commercial team, who then are the ones who are in charge of the creators, if you know what I mean. So that's kind of like the way we structure it. So yes, if you're a big brand delivering millions, you will have dedicated people sitting there working on them every day. But at a commercial level, we have commercial directors. So I've hired like such good experienced people from like one of the guys, he was at PhD. He helped the US business scale to like 15 million a year. He came in and he runs like a supplement brand, for instance, for us. So I hire commercial directors, managers from other brands to come in and run a creator's brand, almost like the MD, basically.
Yeah, interesting. And how involved does the typical creator get? Are they literally just given a set of posts they have to do, or are they in the office looking at product?
100%. So I think that is not us. So there is another model that exists in the creator economy, which is we want to launch a brand now, call it, Space Items. And we're going to be like, let's go find
Which probably does exist at this point, a lot of copycats.
And, we'll give them 20% equity, they'll be the face, we'll give them the deliverables, we'll put it into the contract, X person is going to go and do the post once a month. Like, that's not what we do. And I think that doesn't work. Because that's like your classic David Beckham launching a perfume deal. That it's a face. They don't give a shit. They just care about what's my upfront fee. Or do I get a fee?
Incentive misalignment in a way.
It's completely.
It's like Roger Federer and On Running. That's like a big example of where that they've absolutely, instead of giving him like, he got offered, I think he got offered like a fee or to take equity.
Yeah, I read about
equity, and that like impact of him on that brand is really.
So I think that's been our structure. So we have all our competitors in the space. Some of them have gone bust because they just didn't follow. Like, we only do it if someone wants to genuinely do it. That's why they have to invest their money. And changes everything.
Every time.
Yeah, generally. I would co-invest with them, but they fund their own business. So like, when I'm saying they're putting 500,000 in, they're putting 500,000 of their cash in. So of course, then the relationship is very different, and we'll speak every single week. Everything's in person. We fly to them. So team is like, we'll fly to I think the guys are going to New York for an activewear brand. We'll sit with the creator, room full of samples, try everything on. Like, I would say our creators that are the most successful are full hands-on, for sure.
Yeah.
And that people don't realize stuff, because otherwise it just won't work. But that being said, hands-on on stuff that we want them to be hands-on with, right? They're not there like speaking to the factories or that kind of stuff. They're more like on the actual product and how do we sell it. I think the smart ones know that, because they're like, my job is to figure out how to sell this, and will my audience want to buy it.
Yeah.
The wrong ones are like, can I go to the factory with you? And it's like, no, because that's just a waste. Like, we're here to do just that, so you don't need to be doing that. So there's, it depends how smart the creator is. It changes everything.
Quick one, fellas. You probably heard a few months ago I dropped an ecom course, a very fucking guru of me, but it's not that. I promise you, 0 to 1, how to start a brand from scratch with no budget, some budget, a bit of budget. Take your idea from a bedroom to reality to potentially 7-8 figures in sales, like I've done a few times, based on my 7 years of experience in the trenches and my current experience building my current brand, Space Goods. It's no bullshit, no frills. We've had like 75 people go through so far. Not a single person has asked for a refund. Plenty of people have actually built some seriously impressive shit. Covers every aspect of the business, not just the front end stuff like most gurus on YouTube and Twitter are talking about, not just product, marketing, all that shit, but the real shit, the logistics, the back end, the supply chain, the customer service, the finances as well. This covers the whole spectrum, every part, 12 hours of video. If you're interested in scaling a brand 0 to 1, actually turning your idea finally into a reality, then click the link below, go check out Learn Real Commerce course and let me know what you think. I'd be glad to have you in there. Let's fucking go. And do you have the same systems and like KPIs and processes in Genflow as a whole for every brand? Because it's effectively like a group of brands, essentially.
Yeah.
Or do you tailor how you run the businesses per
I think we got like,
brand?
we call them like, essentially it is service levels depending on size of client, type of thing that we're doing. So it's a bit bigger than that, but yes, I'm very big on process and we run very tight ship. So things have to happen a certain way. Every day there's got to be like end of day emails or end of week. There's meetings that have to happen a certain way. The whole company works through Asana. There isn't a task that'll happen at Genflow that is not in Asana. Like I'm talking.
That's how we work as well. Yeah.
You're on Notion guy.
Notion, yeah. Gotta have
Like,
one.
There's honestly like
I've never been
thousands and
organised
thousands
enough
of
for that.
tasks and everything has to be tracked. Yeah, in real time.
Ollie does that for me now. The other Ollie. Not you.
So yeah, big believer in process. That's the way to scale because things start to like fall apart. So I fix something through process instead of like fixing it manually. It's so easy to call somebody up and be like, do it like this or do it like that. We try to fix it through process. And that's what's worked, essentially.
Is that how you operate?
Yeah, we're just systems everything. We've got about 65 people for us, and we're just like operationally driven, agency wide, everything. I'm sure I would say same for e-com brands, but I find it a little bit less repeatable for e-com. Like it's more transitional through growth phase than it is in an agency where you're providing a repeatable service in some ways.
Yeah.
Depending on client size, but yeah, like operations for communication, meetings, like you said, onboarding, forecasting, everything to the nth degree. Kind of remove as much thinking as possible to some stage, but then leaving enough room for creativity is how we've always kind of thought about it.
Yeah, no, one thing we've done well is that if it is something that can't be like do it like this, then instead it's making them think the right thing. So like landing page structure is something that we'll have like, you know, this is how you should set it out, and then the person can decide like how they're going to apply that. Yeah, they must follow a methodology of some kind. It can't just be whatever you feel like.
Yeah, it's like 6 core ingredients, but then those ingredients can look different. Like it has to have a header, has to have a buy box, like a bit more flexibility around that.
Yeah, and I think what's hard in my business is because when you've been around for so long now, like as people change, you lose knowledge. So preserving that knowledge is like it's hard. Because you did something unique and that did so well, then it's like 2 years have gone by and maybe that girl is not here anymore, and I struggle with that because I'm like, it's like I'm repeating myself but to new people. So it's like I need to repeat myself.
Turnover as team, more so as in like people leaving, taking that knowledge with them, that specialism with them. That makes sense.
Just that thing that you did.
That's like that's like the worst nightmare for me as well. Just losing a person that you've put loads of time and resource into. Very hard to
so I've been lucky at the senior side, but general business, like it's tough. We probably hired around 250 people or something. So yeah, it's been that's been hard. Just people as a whole, like that's the hardest part of the business is people, like managing people, getting the best out of them, and just living with their expectations and how to manage that. Culture. That's the hard side. Yeah. Once I sell the company, don't think I'd ever run another business with lots of people.
Yeah, we're kind of at that transition point of like, do we go boutique? Because I'm kind of in that mindset. Like, do you go boutique for that reason? Like, bigger isn't always better in a way. It isn't it is to some degrees, but like you can make as much profit and get a bigger exit to a degree by not having the same amount of people. I think going after like profitability, like really driving up structuring better deals.
I think where the world is right now, it's all about profit.
Yeah.
No one will even look at your revenue growth and give you any multiple based on that.
Yeah.
So at this moment, it would be trying to generate the most profit physically possible, for sure. And one of the ways is to reduce headcount or reduce clients that don't drive much money, so you can reduce the headcount. I would definitely say that's the thing to do.
How do you think your role has changed since you've founded the business? Obviously massively, but were you always really like organised and process driven? Because I've always been a creative first, but I've just realised that I can't always be that if I want to build a good business, and it's taken me like 6 years of doing this shit to finally understand managing people, and I'm literally only in the past few months starting to get better with that. Do you find it's a constant process, or were you always good at that and that's why you built a good business?
I think really I feel like I do the same stuff that I always did. That's what it feels like. Maybe it factually isn't. I think I've been quite lucky with when we needed to do some of stuff, I had someone that could do it. I'll get a bit because again, so I guess my same leadership team, it was just us, and I made them into the people running the areas. So that's the big difference. So it's like so like we were the team that like launched an app, hit them all in the app store, doing 200,000 in like an hour, pounds, and you're like, what the hell's going on? Like, how are we doing this? I remember in 2019 we did 12 million and there was 12 of us, and it was just insane. Like how, like, that's not normal. And so I think for me it was a collective decision of like, okay, we're a team now, we exactly know what we're doing, and we've spent like evenings, nights working on shit, traveled to different countries, like done all that stuff. So when it came to, okay, we need to hire a team and we have to tell them what to do, it's like, okay, you go solve that. So it was a bit different because it wasn't like, so yeah, I guess in our collective team it was more like, you're very good at organization, so why don't you be the organized one, and you are very good at thinking of new ideas, you be that guy. So I think the luck in our business was that we always had something to do. Most businesses, you're sitting and thinking of what's the offer or how should we get more clients. We almost had no downtime. It was like we launched one thing and it's like, oh shit, 2 weeks later we're going to launch another thing. So we just were running after the work.
Almost adapt or die in a way. Like,
yeah, so I think
skills.
So that decision kind of just happened.
Yeah.
And I've pretty much been doing the same stuff, which is that I like being hands-on on the biggest projects in the business. And I've still been doing that myself.
Just on team as well, because I think this is like an endless debate. So I think about, are you remote or is everyone in an office?
We do. My product team is in about 3 times a week, sometimes 4. The other guys are once a week, but then we have hired people like all over the world. So it's a very big.
So it's hybrid,
pretty much.
And based in London and LA.
Yeah.
And you don't have an office in Dubai, or you do?
Not currently, but I'll probably end up setting up one by this end of this year.
Do you think you can build a big business fully remote? What do you think as well? Because you got way more team members than me. But I'm already thinking
we've got one agency that's remote and one agency
that's
in
remote.
person, which is, I think you can. I think you can, but I think in person's. I think a hybrid's optimal in my opinion. Like having a bit of both. I think fully remote relies on really nailing every hire, or you inherently have to put more trust in the individual, and I think it's a bit more difficult. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you can build a cash flow business fully remote because they're just doing something you need them to do.
Yeah.
Can you build an actual business of value which you can sell one day that has genuine value within itself? Like, no, because there is no way someone remote will ever get to know you and what you're trying to do and why, and you as a person to then be able to manage other people. I think it only works almost in a flat structure where it's you got all these freelancers, maybe you can get them like doing some stuff. So it's just completely different. And for me, like, there's 2 completely different mindsets, right? There's the cash flow businesses that you see everyone online. What they're really doing is that trying to make 30, 40K a month, trying to get remote people to do the work, put as much money in the pocket, wherever money comes in, put it in. Every few months, there'll be a few more companies you can sell to.
Yeah.
And it's just an ever circle thing, because you keep making cash, it feels great, and you can live happily, way more than a job. Or it's on the other side, where you're trying to build a tangible business which you can sell one day, and that requires you to build lots of the stuff which comes with building a real business that someone could buy one day. And I guess I've always been on this side, because I've looked up to the biggest companies, the Slacks, the Ubers, etc., to be like, I want to build a real tangible business and sell it, versus just cash. So I think, could you do that fully remotely? Like, I think that's tough, and that's what I would say.
And do you want to build something big so you can get really rich, or so you can build something that is impactful?
I think you do it right. You do it both. Yeah, I think the beautiful thing about my business is that even though, yep, it's creators, yes, they make a lot of money, but fundamentally you do have a lot of impact on a lot of people. Like right now we reach 147 million people, I think, last time I checked. That's a lot of people. And creators make content for those people and the impact it has on them. So I think there's a massive thing of impact for sure that I care about. Secondly, the lives of the creators themselves. Like, I know the inner workings of like someone helping their mom like leave their, you know, abusive dad, or the whole family's been like in poverty and she made 2 million and now like bought her mom a house. Like, it's the shit that you get from having the audience. I think it's a lot of value, sentimental value for sure. But I think no doubt about it, I'm here to make money and sell the business to make money.
Yeah, and just on the creators then, has there been a few or one or two that have stood out, either for good or bad, in terms of they've done way better than you thought they'd ever do and they've grown insanely, or some that have been a big flop?
I'd also be interested in ones that have had a big impact on you personally, like the one you just mentioned, not just monetary, like people who you've met that have had a personal impact.
Yeah, I think lots of different ones. Obviously, you know, we work with Iman Gaji. I think to see him go from a kid that essentially worked with us and I hired him to kind of, you know, develop his career.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing journey, you know, to see him go through that. And I think it just shows how anyone can do anything. It shows you a lot that you gotta, what the audience wants, like he's figured that out really, really well over everything. People stress about the other things. He's worked on that side of things. So I think I draw parallels from like different things from different reasons.
Yeah.
Then also seeing like someone saying no to stuff, saying no to money for like good reasons. You're like, actually, that's a good reason that you're saying no to doing this project or to another million that we could have made, but I see why you're saying it, because your mental health, or, you know, people on Reddit are hating you so much that it's just, you rather just not do it, versus more cash that you already don't know what to do with. So I've seen stuff in that sense to be like, and then, you know, some stuff where managers are in the middle and they're like completely blocking stuff, and or they're not seeing it. It's a lot of frustrating things too. You know, boyfriends coming in the way and trying to make as much money for themselves and ruining creators, like, you know, future almost and stuff. So yeah, I think there definitely is a bit of a dark side to the creator space as well, for sure.
Are there any specific examples of ones you can share? Like, is that my dog scratching? Like, who's the biggest brand out of all of them that you've ever done? I mean, I'm sure some people could probably guess, but if you can share them.
I think not financially. I think obviously one of the biggest brands we've developed that's done commercially well as a whole is Shreddy. It's a supplement brand and it's a mobile app. Just because obviously we rolled it out into supermarkets. It's been going for almost 4 years this year, and it's having its like best year. So I think
even
that's a proud.
Yeah.
So I think that's a proud achievement. Like years later, they're no longer like quick little things. It's like a full blown business doing well, very highly profitable. We have obviously, trying to think of a digital one. A digital creator that does really, really well, and again I worked with her for years, is Natasha Ocean. She's a YouTuber.
I think I've seen her.
Across it's just the audience is so loyal. Like she sells really, really well. Others, she was even Mike Thurston. His brand is this year it's fully on the rise. Matt does fitness, his brand. We did an energy drink with him called Morsi Energy.
You did Rob Lipset as well, right? Pancakes. Or was that not you?
We did. It's closed down now.
Oh really?
And he'll be doing it himself. it was where the numbers just weren't where they need to be for us to continue. But I think he's working on it, so
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll make a success of it. But yeah, so I think some things work, some things didn't, and for various reasons. Because I think a lot of times, if the creator hasn't got the distribution through their own channels, through their own content creation, haven't got the understanding how things work, that like hinders it. So yeah, I think a few things like that. So we launched there's a creator of ours called Shan Greca. She's Kim Kardashian's personal trainer. She's got 4 million, I think, on TikTok, 3 million on Instagram. We do her activewear brand called Zentoa. It's obviously US based. That does really well. So many. I think obviously we have so many businesses, probably between like 500,000 a year up to like 3-4 million, and in there then some are like spiking higher, but that's kind of like general sense what I would say.
Do you think go on?
I was gonna say, what do you find like biggest bottlenecks to growth on? Like, do you see you hit thresholds at certain spots? 'Cause traditionally, from like
I'll be honest, the bottleneck is that it's creators are not that money driven. That
especially when I guess they've got like probably 5 things going on. That
I think at some point when you're making enough cash, you're okay with it.
Yeah, marginal utility just goes down.
That I can be like, we did, you did 2.4 million last year. Let's do 4 this year. They're like,
time to effort to reward.
I'm happy to have the exact same year again. And we're like, well, you can't have the same year in business. You got to be growing year on year. Like, what is this? Like, this isn't how it is. Do this. Let's become more product range. The amount of products that they haven't come to market because of that stuff is just like.
Can't be asked.
It's just like, more stress. Do I really need it? I'll have to go through all this, more DMs, more this, more that. So like, there's a lot of that stuff. Is what I would say is probably the biggest hindrance to us. I think I would have grown some things way bigger if I could done my way.
And
you gotta remember how young people are. If you're like under 25 and you're making millions, your life has changed. You're famous. Like, do you really need to do like one more business or one more product drop or one more this? So I think I've now learned to kind of calm down when it's like, okay, cool, let me focus on the other person, or let's get another person. So I have to strategically move around that, because for me it's all about the total growth, and I learned that the hard way. I think of really trying to do stuff with some creators or people and trying to push to be like, actually I'm pushing too much, there's no need.
Makes a lot of sense.
Do you scale all the brands primarily organically, as in you don't run paid ads, you just use their audience, or is it a mix of both?
We start organic and then paid.
Is that when you reach like a ceiling organically?
I think, to be honest, retargeting is just a big thing just because of the large warm audience. So I think we use that.
I bet it cleans up with the right creator.
Yeah, and obviously historically we did really, really good. Obviously, as everyone knows, it's not the same as it used to be, but at the same time, yeah, seeing good on the retargeting especially. New audience is a bit harder. It works when you can get the creator to do good content to go alongside it, like more educational, etc., problem solving. And also the creators that let us run ads from their accounts obviously changes things.
Yeah, whitelisting it.
Yeah.
Do you think is it creator or product, if you had to pick one, in terms of a successful brand?
Oh, creator.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh,
distribution. Yeah.
The right creators, we joke about it, could sell like toilet paper.
Yeah.
Millions. Yeah. Like Iman could sell, I think, anything. Yeah, could sell this glass and it would work.
Yeah.
Like, because it's all about your delivery on camera, how do you speak. For me, like a good creator is almost like a good politician. Like, how manipulative can you be when you speak? Right, because that's what a politician is. Like, they're very good at telling people, and people are like, yes, I believe this guy, and that guy can do anything. Like, people still support, Boris Johnson, and it's amazing, right? Because you just have this trust. They're like, no, he's my guy, and it's like that's the ultimate thing in marketing. Yeah, if you think about it. So I think all day long. Like, I would rather, like we joke. Me and Grace always joke about it that she could sell anything, like literally anything. It would sell.
Coming back to the business model and stuff then. So you raised money, $11 million in 2021. Is that the right amount?
Yeah.
Was that the first time you'd raised money?
Nope. I raised back when I was in the Nominum days. I raised £50,000 from an angel investor. It's because I fell out the tech startups and raising money game that I knew about it. So I was like, I'm going to raise money. That was the first one. Then I raised directly from a family office, probably around $2.5 million, and then I raised this $11 million.
What was each of those? Well, what were they used for basically? What was each stage used for? What was
I think in the early days, obviously the business was just different. The first tranche that I raised back in 2018, used that to develop the business. It almost, funny enough, we didn't need it because all the stuff that we were doing, we had a lot of cash.
Yeah.
So almost kind of like didn't get used. The 11 million was raised to grow the business. We were at a stage where like, okay, if we fund the right areas, grow the teams, because you have to invest in a team, right? Like,
sort of,
yeah, I think especially around the product side, it was like, we've got to learn how to make products properly. Like honestly, in the early days, obviously I was making clothes, like the pattern, the design, designing it. I couldn't get the shoulders to be right. Like I was trying my best to make things look good. So I was like, I need to bring in people that know what they're doing. So I hired a girl. She was like senior in Ralph Lauren to come and like lead our apparel team. So we used it to hire. So I aggressively hired, essentially had losses to then turn that into a bigger business that can do more.
Yeah.
Because I realized you just have to go through this cycle. And some people invest in you, like, okay, I need money, I'm going to do all this stuff, we'll burn some cash, your cash, and then on the other side we'll hire a bigger business, more valuable. So that's why I raised from BGF, British Growth Fund. They're one of the
Oh yeah, I spoke to them before.
Yeah, the biggest investors in Europe. They're like consumer and all that stuff. So yeah, they've been great ever since.
Do you think you could have raised that money in 2023? Or do you think the market? Do you think it's true that the market is very different now?
Oh, it's very hard now.
Yeah.
Very, very hard. I'm close to the market still, so I know. So yeah, I think right now, if you're a profitable business, you can raise, but the valuations are like cutthroat.
Yeah, because I've been speaking to VCs for 6 months, and I just decided to park it, and now we're just profitable. We just pivoted, because I was joking that if it was 2021, I'd have raised 3 million quid at fucking 30 mil valuation by now. Probably not, but it's just a different market, innit? Because I'd never raised money before, so I raised 600k off angels for this thing.
Okay.
But just like my mates, like he also invested.
Okay.
But then I'd never spoke to a VC before until about 6 months ago. I'd always been bootstrapped. Huh?
For which business?
For this, space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially consumer VC is very.
And then you read all
hard
this
as well.
shit about D2C is fucked, blah blah blah.
I think.
But then I've been learning about how to position it, because actually I don't position it as an e-commerce brand. I position it as a psilocybin healthcare business long term, and this is the ground floor. We're building a brand that's ready for a space that doesn't yet legally exist. So get in now. Imagine what can happen if legislation changes. That's my pitch. It's not mushroom coffee, because that's boring. Even though that's what it is.
Who did you speak to?
Everyone, Jam Jar, Active, BGF, Piper, probably every VC in London. But I just, because I got the pod, so I just shared a video on LinkedIn. I never went to any of them. I just put a pitch.com link. So here's the deck. But then there's a lot of tire kicking. It's like fucking dating in 2023. There's a lot of first dates. There's not a lot of second ones.
It is not.
So it's a fun process, but it's also soul destroying.
Yeah, I would. Raising money and having investors and stuff, the business completely changes. Because, so I would be very hesitant about that unless you truly want to build something big.
I think I'm stupid enough that I do, because I already had a bunch of stuff, and I had a business that went bankrupt when I was 24, right? So I've seen the highs and lows, which I think a lot of people in their 20s haven't. So now I'm like, well, I'm still in the game, I'm still swinging, fuck it, we may as well try and go as big as possible. And I just genuinely don't care if it goes wrong again, because I'll just start again.
Thing is,
but it won't go wrong again.
I think what I would do is try to like really, the investor is like whoever. It's more about modeling out the money and what would you do with it, and when would it like almost come whole, and when would the return come from whoever. What I've seen with having that much money in the bank at once, whatever, like what it does to you and the team is actually something to really manage, because all of a sudden it feels like it's free cash flow. And it's hard because everybody wants pay rises, everybody wants this, everybody wants and you want it all too for yourself, meaning like you just want to spend more because there's more allocation. You start to think, if you did this, you say, we'll sponsor events, we'll sponsor podcasts, I'll give this to every big podcaster out there, and they'll have it on the table. Like you start to, because you have the money.
Yeah, it's VC SaaS money. Start making stupid decisions.
What was it? Fast checkout, 100 mil in a year that's burnt through.
You see it. There's a couple of
crazy.
Big
ones. That should be illegal.
So I think there's a little bit of that. Plus, yeah, I think I always find it interesting in DTC when people raise, because I'm like, what for? I understand in tech, because tech is expensive. But in DTC,
I guess there's two things fundamentally in there, because you're either not profitable or you need a lot of sunk cost to get profitable, basically. Yeah. So like, I had Wild Cosmetics on. You probably know them. Massive brand in London. I think they're doing like 30, 40 mil now. The founder of them came on. They've raised 8 mil. I don't think they're profitable now. I mean, he said they weren't on the pod, but their valuation was crazy.
Yeah, but that's
they've got a team of 60 people. They're in every fucking shop.
But that stuff is just not real. What I mean by that is, that is not success.
Well, I don't want to sound like I'm talking bad about him now, but it is the game not to just playing devil's advocate, because I find it fascinating, the whole fundraising, especially when it comes to D2C, because everyone says it's not a VC game, D2C, it needs to be tech. Like, have you pitched Genflow as tech then, rather than a group of brands?
Yeah.
Fundamentally.
Yeah. So our biggest piece of my business, even though we spent the whole time so far talking about brands, the biggest piece of the business is our subscription revenue. Because from every subscriber subscribing to a creator, we take a percentage. So there's a massive monthly recurring revenue in the business. We have hundreds of thousands of subscribers across creators, and we're getting a percentage from them. So essentially, we're making a few million a month on subscription revenue from creators.
That's genius.
And that's the business.
From digital products primarily, and physical.
Yeah. No,
supplements, everything.
Digital through subscriptions.
Right.
So obviously, people subscribe to someone's content, and we get a percentage of that. So we do that through mobile apps, web platforms. So I think that's actually the biggest part of the business. Second biggest part of the business now is actually working with brands. So, for example, we've just done one of our creators, Liana Deeb. She's working with Gymshark on something very cool. She was she did a post with Ben. My team was there 2 days in Gymshark's office. So we're doing like branded products with brands. One of our creators, she worked with Addison Rae on a big Google stuff. We got paid shitloads for it. So like that's probably the second part of the business. Third is actually the brands and the products in terms of money. So yeah, I think going back to it, I think tech and also audience, because the brand itself is like the last part of it. You know, even the fact that we're working. So my pitch to a consumer VC would be, don't invest in all those consumer brands because they have to pay for ads. And that's so I have a slide on consumer brands versus creative first brands, like in my deck, because I'm making the point of, for every £9 of your money they're going to spend on ads, you know, it cost me £2 to convert that same customer to buy my stuff for the creator.
But then I'm just interested in this. Like you said, there's a lot of brands doing, I guess bedroom brands, what I would call them, like single figure millions in revenue, which arguably that's where I've got twice before. That's where you've got the part I'm finding hard is how do I get to 20 mil, 30 mil, 100 mil revenue, which obviously is very, very fucking hard anyway. But can a creator audience get there without being Logan Paul?
Yeah, 100%.
Because you still need to run ads, right?
I think
past a certain point.
Because what you start doing then is you start leveraging other creators' audiences. So what you would do smartly is immediately start working with other creators, doing collaborations with them, bringing them in, sponsoring them, etc. Because that thing works. You just find others to do it with to get bigger, right?
Yeah.
Like Gymshark did, and we've seen that too, and we're doing it too. So if it was this, I would look for a creator to immediately
do just that
with flavor.
Because the one example, one of my investors, a guy called Jack, started Wayflyer. I don't know if you know that business, a D2C lender. But he was telling me, when he was really drunk, he said you should try and get Emma Chamberlain and go 50-50. I said she's got a coffee brand, but obviously, I mean, she's the fucking biggest influencer right now. And I was thinking, do you think it's a good play to hypothetically get a massive, try and get if Justin Bieber came on board, I gave him 70% equity. It's probably worth it, in theory, right? It's just how do you get in the door?
I would not do that, and they wouldn't want to.
He's laughing at me, but it's Justin Bieber, lad.
Biggest example.
I've had dinner with Justin Bieber.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I need to get him some fucking
I
rainbow
don't think
dust.
he would want to do this.
Why not? It's
But I'll tell you
CBD.
what people are looking for. People want to launch their own thing, for sure. I think that would be the wrong way. In here, you should go the level below to people that create good content and try and do like their flavor, this, and don't need to give equity to nobody. If you gave people a little bit of a fee and a percentage of the sales, people would say yes. And if you gave them like creative control, work with them, make them feel special, they will do it. It's like the Molly May PLT thing, like making someone just feel like it's yours, but it's not really. I'm just paying you, and you're going to do exactly what's part of the agreement. That's what I would do. So I was saying, how do you scale to that? For me, so you need to leverage other people's audiences. So you need to find who they are. I'm sure you already pay small creators and that stuff, and probably they do like videos and stuff with them drinking, like all that basic stuff. I would just try and do that at a higher level. Like, who is the perfect person to collaborate with? And someone that creates content about, for example, like Chris that I'm working with, the reason is because this whole content is about being smarter, being a slightly more, meta man versus a normal one, in other words. So it's just people like that I would go to and say, I want to do your flavor with you. So we did a similar thing with Bloom Nutrition, who's actually a creator of ours. Her name is Mari. We don't do the brand. So her and her husband started the brand. We do her digital stuff.
I think I've seen that brand.
Bloom Nutrition. And they're killing it. Like, probably 100 million this year, I would say. And so it's a perfect example. Create a brand, monetize their audience. We've done collaborations with creators for them. So then we launched a flavor with one of our creators for them that made them more famous. And then they've killed it on TikTok. Like, they sell greens basically, is the main product, and now they're the best-selling product in Target. I think 2 top best-selling products. Amazon.
I was literally on the website now. Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah. So the owners of that is basically we work with them on their digital product, which is
so this is doing 100 mil. Fucking hell.
I don't know, but I'm saying they are on that trajectory for sure.
Yeah.
Because they're absolutely blowing up.
Greens are popping right now. I have athletic greens every morning.
Create a brand.
So there's that male brand. This is the biggest female brand.
Interesting.
In the same thing. So I think going back to think, is it possible? Of course. And I think I'm in that chase too. If I'm honest, I want to build one brand to be bigger than the rest for sure. Just to say I've done it, and I would love to exit a brand too, and that's something that I'm working on as well. That I want to build a portfolio brand and sell it as an achievement.
But do you think it's more realistic and arguably less stressful to build 100 brands doing 5 million a year than one doing 500, like Gymshark? Because you said this as well, like he's got a group of brands with someone else that he's working on.
Yeah, we've got one really big brand, and we're starting a load of other ones at the moment, sort of like mid-8 figures, one of them.
Because in theory it's easier, isn't it?
It depends,
but then it's just
depends on what.
But it's like the noble pursuit of trying to build one thing that's fucking huge.
I think one is easier. No,
I think it's more simple.
It really depends.
I think having one thing to only focus on would be nice, coming from the world where I have so many things to focus on. But I think it won't be as fun, especially if you stay in your lane. Even using Gymshark as an example, because it's only clothes. Like, surely after the 900th legging launch, you're like, what do I do now? Like, to actually, I think that the other thing that I would personally struggle with, what I enjoy about my role and my business is that it's so fun to go from product to product to product, or digital to digital, or a brand deal. It's more fun for sure. Right. So I think I prefer this side because of that. And I love tech. I love tech revenues, digital revenues, SaaS revenues, because the fun of you did nothing and a creator promoted and lots of people joined and we did absolutely nothing. That's the best part.
On the tech, was that, firstly, that's a genius way of monetizing. I think was that baked in and intentional from sort of day one, or is that something that you've brought in?
But that was our first thing. So when we launched on October 16, so digital content and subscription and tech has been the core of the business from the very beginning, and then the others have been added on.
Almost. Was that revenue, that monetization for yourselves, that fee structure baked in from first launch?
From the very first sale.
Yeah. That's really
genius in terms of like, I bet, like in terms of how that.
Yeah, otherwise we would probably would have
value
gone
of
bankrupt at
business.
some point.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
changes the
so
value of business.
our competitors, we had some competitors here in London, some in the US. A lot of them have gone bankrupt who only focused on D2C brands with creators. Because if the creators away in Bali for 3 months and like they're not doing whatever, like what? How are you gonna pay your staff? So we couldn't take that chance. So for me, like digital is the core of the business, delivers the most money, and then we do all the other stuff around
Some
it.
margins, isn't it? Even just margin based, isn't it? Just different
Physical 100%,
product.
Yeah. And then, retail and stuff we do, the margins are terrible, but it's just fun.
In wholesale, yeah.
Yeah.
That's becoming massive in America at the moment, isn't it? Like Walmart, Target, all jumping on that bandwagon of like of creative act consumer products.
But I think it's only top 1%. Everyone else will
yeah.
be absolutely hard done by. That's for sure. Just because people charge listing fees, marketing fees.
Big.
Like if they put a little banner for you, they'll charge you like 20,000 for doing so. Like it's everything you have to pay for once you're in the store. So it's not the best model.
Yeah, I guess top one's a low risk to them as well, isn't it? Like buyer's not going to be like, oh, we're going to take Mr. Beast.
Like
it's not
Happy
gonna
Dad.
flop. Like yeah.
Is that? Do you know the background of that brand? As in, like, obviously, Nelk haven't actually fucking developed the product. I mean, I highly doubt they have. Is there a competitor of yours that is orchestrating that? Because that's a fucking huge one.
Yeah, so I know who manufactures it. I think the team that actually sit and do it they've hired in now. But there are a few people, yes, in the US that are competitors of ours, but way more boutique.
Yeah.
Like one's called Beach House
I
Group.
was literally about to say that.
Yeah,
I read
so-
about them. They did Kendall Jenner's teeth thing.
Yeah, but that's the earlier model that I was telling
Yeah.
you. So they'll have 70-80% equity, and it's their brands, and they give 20% to the person. It's their face. But that's why those people will never talk about it like their thing. If you go to Kendall Jenner, she'll never have Moon in her bio. There'll be a post here and there, but that's it, because it's the other way around. They did Millie Bobby Brown's makeup brand.
Yeah.
So some of those exist. My biggest challenge is, so in Hollywood, let's call it, the big agencies, they only want to work the traditional way, which is, what's the money up front? So I pitched The Rock, and his team was like, we would want $1 million up front for any discussion. I was like, fine, let's move to the next stage. Like, let me call their bluff and see what happens. So from there we moved to the next stage, did the pitch, next stage did the pitch. Then there was a call with 9 people on it, did the pitch. Then there's a call with The Rock and his right hand person in his house. He didn't actually come onto the camera. It was so annoying. I was just like waiting, come on. He was like in the gym, and she's like, yeah, it's coming any minute. And then she kept talking to me. So we did the whole thing. He's like, oh, sorry, yeah, he's just not finished yet. I was like, oh, for God's sake.
Playing chess.
Yeah. But we were pitching him this thing, and that thing he never launched. He launched Zoa instead. I like to believe, and she did say, the day we decide to do this project, we will come to you. So, I don't want to say what it is because it may still happen. But the point is, those gatekeepers make it really hard. That's why the agencies that exist in the US, they are doing the model that people accept, which is pay me up front, I want small equity, I'll do your deliverables, done. And that's just not what I want to do. Mainly because then I'm actually running 5 of my own brands with some partners versus what I'm trying to do, which is leverage audiences at scale. Because I feel like that's the big opportunity, because there's nothing feels great about, there's nothing greater for me to like even when this thing that I'm working on, Chris and James, comes out, it's a brand new audience, brand new product, and the fun of that is just its own thing versus trying to be like, how do I keep selling this one brand. So I think I'm in the game of lots of small, profitable D2C brands combined with maybe 1 or 2 that have equity in. I'm trying to scale bigger.
Have you got a brand with Bieber coming then?
No.
He's launching a mushroom brand
Yeah.
called Space
I
Foods.
think that's it.
Fuck yeah, it's an interesting
But if
space.
you want to pitch to him, I can't do that. We pitched to Hailey Bieber, a swim brand. It didn't work out. I've pitched to almost everybody at the highest level. I've tried to in some way or the other.
Do you think celebrities like that is a slam dunk if you get a deal done? Or is there still cases where it just might not hit?
It's the inner workings. So right now, I'm currently negotiating with, without saying names, I guess some of the biggest following on Instagram as a whole. and you think slam dunk. I am thinking
Ronaldo.
slam dunk.
Imagine that. Probably is.
Almost that big. Or just another version of that. But the point is, no, it's not, because it comes down to the team, who's around them, who's the smart one around them, who actually gets it. It's that. So I think, in my experience of working with people, so when I did Anthony Joshua, of course, growing up here, obviously it was like, wow, imagine working with him. We did. And, you know, his team is just not business people. So they just don't understand anything. They're like the boxing people that he was with him when he was young, and now is his team. So they just don't get online, business, anything. So we're like, this is the strategy, this is how you should launch. So we launched all the boxing products, they did well. Let's launch the kids range, let's do this. We launched JD, physical and online. But every strategic thing you want to do, that's where it becomes hard. So let's say if you did do it with Justin Bieber, you'd be like, yeah man, let's do it. And then he puts a post up, you sell someone day one. But then when you like, oh, okay, can you, actually the post was of you driving and you just had this on the side. Could you like, remember you meant to do a post where you like drinking it? Nah man, can't do that. It's like, why? Oh, my social media guy said it's not good. It's like, no, you meant to do it properly. And that's where the problem begins. Because every person that's in that relationship will be against you. And I can't explain why. Because people have to show famous people that they have some value. And the way they do that is by making it feel like the outsiders know nothing and I know everything. Because I'm your boy. I've known you for years.
That's such an interesting point. Yeah.
So it's very hard. So unless you can build a very good relationship with the main person or people around them, it's very tough to get the best out of them, you know.
Is that why do you find that past a certain size of person, or even like a more
that's a good
traditional
point.
celebrity versus an online celebrity? Like, say, Grace Beverly, again, use her as an example. She probably doesn't come from a background of that. She's very obviously switched on in herself. Probably doesn't have this massive. I don't obviously, you know.
I think people later in life, it just depends, right? So I think people that I've met earlier in the journey, like, different relationship.
Trust you more.
Yeah, exactly. It's different,
more.
right? So like if it was email, I can message him now on something, he'll get back to me immediately. But obviously there'll be people I've met and they're like, oh, I've been chasing him, doesn't get back to me or whatever. It's just because it's just a relationship. Even in the Justin Bieber thing, it's not bad. It's just when you're not in the circle and people see you as you're here just to make your money from our thing that we got going on. People are very reserved, which you can understand.
Yeah.
So it's not a good or bad. I understand why, because of that reason. But when you're in the circle, then obviously people are like, let's make more money together.
Yeah.
And they're willing to...
It's like level playing field almost.
So I think that's the hardest thing with the top 1% of, if that's Hollywood, creators, etc. Just getting into that circle of that person, not the industry as a whole.
Is it getting easier over time? I guess as you get bigger, you get more reputation, your business gets bigger, awareness.
I think definitely the more moves we make, the more people see, it gets easier and easier. I think we're quite blessed to be in a position now that almost every door is unlocked. It's just about timing and everything else. Like I can easily go to like we work with Superdrug a lot. We've got 3 brands in Superdrug. I can easily go to Superdrug for something brand new before I've launched something and they would want it.
It's like the Reggie Sauce man on Dragon's Den.
There's not much money in it, but we can do it, you know. Yeah. Like getting you into store. But
have you got an exit plan then? You've obviously alluded to that a few times. I mean, I'm sure you've had offers. Like, where do you see this going? Like, you're still young.
Yeah. So I think for me, probably like in the, I guess, next 3-4 years, I would want to sell the business. I think for sure. I think business. I'm doing this for 7 years. I think for me, I want to prove a few more things, which is, like I was saying, I'm going to launch a few big things that I have equity in. Keep scaling. Want to grow into the US more. We grew really well before COVID hindered us, so now we're kind of like back growing. Need to spend more time out there. I've just got my 5-year business visa, so that was a must need, because traveling on ESTA again and again is problematic. I've been stopped a few times on that, which has been annoying. And so yes, I would say, and creator economy, everything that's going on, I think business is a lot to do with timing. If we don't sell, I need to be able to upsell the idea of audiences to somebody before it becomes so normal that no one thinks that's valuable. So yeah, I would want to, for sure.
Who do you think would buy it? Or which sort of business or group? Or
and this is quite interesting. I think Shopify could buy us. and they can call it Shopify Creators.
Yeah, they're
where
doing
they
a massive
are,
thing on that at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if do they want to provide a hands-on approach or call it to creators where so I think that's a valid one. I also see maybe large influencer marketing agencies could, because a lot of people they want to come onto the creator side at the same time, because they're like, actually, because it's happening more and more, right? So D2C brands are launching a white label, you can call it space items, and that one is 50-50 with UNB, but while you still have yours. So that's becoming so common with brands doing that. And so I think it could be an agency for that reason. It could even be a big brand for that reason. That's probably my initial thoughts. Of course, like a private equity or someone else could just buy it to like run it, but those would be my initial. Or it could be like I had they're based in Canada. It's like a course selling platform. They listed recently.
Mind Valley, is it?
Course,
no,
did you say? Like course? Is it
there's
like
some courses.
teachable kind of vibe?
Yeah, it's not Podia. It's another
Kajabi.
one. I think it's Kajabi. So Kajabi listed on the stock exchange.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
So they approached us to like buy.
Interesting. I guess that's your SaaS.
Because they could again add on to we sell courses, but actually you can also launch a brand.
Yeah, it's
And
really
attach us, or you can work with a brand. So I think there's interesting plays.
I think your proven ability to monetize and generate awareness is ridiculously valuable.
So I think the biggest IP of the business
is
is we know how to monetize an audience, and we know how to work with creators because we've been in the trenches for so long. So I think that's our biggest asset over everything
100%.
else. And then we understand tech to be able to build, like, I guess, digital revenues which are a bit custom and sticky and all that stuff, a bit more bespoke than your average course or something. That's probably our biggest IPs.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's huge value add to many businesses.
Have you got a number in mind? Or you just want to get as big as you can and then you're out because
it's quite interesting because when you think of like, if I was to, have like 30-40 million cash in my pocket, of course, that's a lot of money. But then, as in like, that would be enough for you to go and start your next thing with, or a few things or whatever. Or if it's, but then you're like, I want to get the most possible. So there isn't a number. I think it's more about when I'm done with what I was trying to do. The number will be what it be. I'm not so bothered about the money in that way. Actually more bothered about, I guess once I've built and sold a brand in itself. The other thing we're working on this year is I didn't talk much about it. We're launching our own stuff, not products, digital stuff. So we're launching a thing called Creator College. So one thing, the last bit of my game plan is going after the long tail of the wannabe creator, because you've already worked with the biggest. That's all working really well. It's profitable. Business is great. I want to, my last roll of dice is I want to monetize the long tail. So we're about to launch Creator College. Essentially, it's a...
Is that with Ali Abda?
No.
That's where he does that sort of... Oh, that's the YouTuber, sorry.
So
he does the YouTuber.
He does something like that, but we're going more... So essentially, it's filled with a... essentially software, but with content. So yes, you'll be able to learn how to build an audience and all that stuff. Be interviewing our creators to be inside of it. Me and the team created lots of content for us, like 60 hours of content. You can connect all your social platforms, see all your stats in real time. You have goals and stuff then that you can be like, I want to get to 10,000 followers, what you need to do. So that's probably my last thing that I want to go after, building our own subscription revenues for our own products. Genetics that I mentioned about we're about to launch that as a product. So I think that's the final bit of my plan. I want to, because that's going to make the company valuation go higher once we have our own revenues also flowing in alongside the percentage and the rest of the stuff that we do. So that's the final piece, and then sell.
And then what? Go to Bali and sit on the beach?
No, I think
Or
I would probably do two things. No, honestly, I think I would either raise a fund. I'm quite interested in that. I think I have very good connections to like family offices. So I think I'll be able to go and convince someone to give me 200 million to sit and invest, whilst I also invest some personal money alongside it. I'm quite interested in that. I think that because I would love to invest in other businesses, I have this idea of maybe even launching a creator focused fund that they only invest directly in creators and creator businesses. Because imagine going to a creator and saying, I'll invest in you. Let's get to 10 million subscribers.
Yeah.
And building the team around it and everything
I
else.
saw a platform it's like you can invest in YouTubers.
Yeah,
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called. I thought it was fucking genius on paper.
Yeah, so I think they're doing it a bit more like basically that you're licensing your content, etc. So I think the model needs to be better than what's out there now. So, but I think I'm interested in that. The other thing would be I think there's no sitting on the beach for sure. That's you can do that in your lifestyle anyway.
I think that's a mindset thing, isn't it? Like some people, I'm just not wired like that either. It's not a business. It's like you have to keep going. You have to have something to do.
Just love the game, don't you? To some extent, love all the pain and suffering.
Yeah, lots of other stuff. So we run a charity hospital in Pakistan right now. So I would want to grow that more. We do like a food program where we give food out to like poor people and stuff like that. So I think I would want to do more of that stuff. I would want to raise money probably from some of my creators to funnel it that way. For charity stuff, so yeah, I'll see. I think too far away at the moment. I feel like I have lots to prove. I want to build my own audience. So obviously this year I've started to do a bit more content, but that's definitely up the to-do list for sure.
So, you got any philosophical questions? I haven't gone that deep yet, but I feel like we covered a lot.
No, I've just been fascinated. Yeah, it's been really interesting.
What do you think's been the hardest thing over the past 7-ish years?
I guess what's been the low point? You obviously said COVID hindered your growth, which is interesting because indeed the opposite.
Sorry, it was just the US, but otherwise COVID was it was a blessing.
It
was a blessing for sure. We sold every item, every fitness possible item that we had. We sold it. It was amazing, and business was like amazing during that phase. That's when I raised the money. It was actually through COVID. Hardest, I think relationships with some creators for sure. Which is disappointing when you look back at it, because like you did something for somebody and it was so much work and it was hard and you made them a lot of money, but because a boyfriend or somebody came and said something like, almost like your value is nothing because of that. So I think that's been tough. I think I've had to learn that nothing is personal.
Yeah.
Because it feels personal. For sure.
Yeah.
Especially in my game, when you've like sat with somebody like this and I've made you like millions of cash and I've done it from my own bare hands, and then for someone to like turn on you or not respect you in the same way or speak ill of you, that shit's hard. And I think that I've had to learn like how to deal with that. Other stuff, even with team members, similar thing, like, I think the part that is hard and will always be hard is how your employees think of you, perceive of you, because they don't actually know you as a person or what you're actually doing. In a big company, especially with hybrid, everyone thinks the CEO is like this big bad CEO, and what does he actually do? And that's a natural thing for like a larger business. So I think that's just hard because people have no idea that.
It's a hard problem to solve as well.
Yeah, it's just
I've become more conscious of that. It's like, how do you set the vision from the top, and how do you stay present with the people that it's at the lower end? Like, obviously, if the further up the chain there you get, the more contact they have with you. Further down, it's like you still need to somehow try and engage those individuals, or at least get.
So in my journey, I've gone through the journey of, I tried really hard to make a big effort for the whole business, to now slowly not caring.
Yeah.
So we do a thing called MGM, which is monthly Genflow meet. It will be in the office, like 90 people. I'll stand and go through the whole business, where we are, what's going on. Team will get up and present. Like, make a lot of effort educating the people about the business, culture, what are we doing, why, shout outs.
It's kind of similar what you do. Yeah.
So I've been through that like that, and basically put so much effort in trying to get people to make sure they're well informed, all the stuff, looked after. But yeah, I guess in hindsight, like, people are gonna have their opinion no matter what, and it's not actually you can do much. Like I like will spend 10 grand on like a summer big thing. Half the company won't come because I'm busy, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, whatever. And it's like, well, like, I thought you guys want to spend time together. You keep saying company should be doing more social events, and I've put this massive event on, and now you're saying, yeah, my train's a bit like far, I don't think I'll be able to come today. It's like, what? Yeah. So that's hard. It's just because, again, I live with this principle actually, which is like zero expectations. Every time I've had any expectation in my life, I get disappointed. So
yeah, so
it's like, So I'm like zero expectations. Everything, like family, this, that, everything. Like I just don't expect much of people. So like that, I'm like in a good space. Because every time I've done, it just feels like it's not going to go the right way. Even a deal, I'm expecting to win this deal, it'll never happen. If I'm like, whatever, then it's like, oh, you actually want to do this? All right, let's do it. So I think that's really my big thing, to like cope with everything now. For sure.
Do you think, this is like a slightly off topic one, but because I've been thinking about this recently, do you think you could have built the business you had if you drank alcohol every week? I don't know if you've ever drank alcohol, or I know you mentioned you didn't drink.
I see the point.
Because I've debated this recently, and I feel like, and I'm trying to go like teetotal for like a few months, and even just in like 3 weeks, I feel it might just be a placebo to an extent, but just that clear-headedness. Because I used to drink probably twice a week. Like we'd have midweek drinks on the pod, the next day I feel fucking fuzzy-headed. I drink on the weekend with some girl or whatever, and it's so ingrained in UK culture. But then I started like reading about some guy on Twitter who runs a fund saying founders shouldn't drink, and I'm like, there's a lot of fucking merit to that probably, but there's obviously exceptions. You get the odd guy that's a lunatic and he's like a cocaine addict, but he's built a £1 billion company. But that's probably not most people, right?
I think there's no hard rule. Ultimately, is like what makes you, right? And what those ingredients are. So and learning and doing that in a certain level of control. I think it's more about that. There isn't no right or wrong. People are super religious and the best people in the world, but not successful in business. On the other side, could be the worst people in the world. Could have, done whatever to people, but still make a lot of money. So I think it's a weird measure. But I think, the answer would be, are you drinking because you want to, or is it peer pressure? Is it because everyone else is doing it? I think it's more why you make the decision. As long as you made the decision wholeheartedly, then yeah.
You look like a good pint, don't you?
They make me sound like an alcoholic.
But
I think it's some people's only vehicle to fun is where it becomes a problem. It's your relationship to it. Like if you.
So I think what is fun for you, and if that revolves around you drinking, then that's probably a problem.
If you can get fulfillment from multiple other things other than just getting absolutely whacked with your mates.
I guess the thing is, do you think then you? I guess the same concept is like basically what we're saying is, do you need a vice to make you feel a certain way?
Yeah.
And that's a conversation I often have with people. People are like, what's your vice? Like, surely you do something which is like, what is it? And I think it's interesting because people normally think they need something which is like their downtime, their me time, something which is different than work or normal or the normal stuff. So it's just that everyone has their own thing that they tend to drink, weed, whatever.
My final question, which I ask everyone, this is a bit of a cliche, but it's interesting. If you give 3 bits of advice to your 18-year-old self upon reflection, what would they be?
I think not to doubt yourself, because I'd probably stop myself so much from taking that step on certain things because I'm like, not now, not yet, etc. I think that'd be number one. Number two, don't try to get other people to see your way. When you're building a business, it happens a lot that you'll be saying, hey guys, come on, let's do this, and everyone's like, no, and you're like, oh, okay, then I'll leave it, like it's not a good idea. But now I was like, man, that was an amazing idea, we should have done it. Like when we were in podcasting first, I was like, we should launch it as a service. Like, oh no, like it's really worth it, so much headache, editing, back and forwards, do you want to do it? Or we should take equity, so much paperwork, like we're going to be stuck with this creator forever. Like there's always that. And then, because I'm asking for their opinion when I should just trust my instinct. So I think it's kind of like, so I'll be second. Number three, I think it's a funny one. I think I would say not to, like, raising money is not the answer. Because for a long time I thought that's the way to scale the business. I need more money. It's probably what you said earlier.
Yeah.
But honestly, because I always thought that's it, and it was never that. And I realized that truly, that if I want to do the next move, last time I raised money and did it, now I'm like, I need to generate the money and put that to work and grow it that way. Because I think it's the right way to grow. I did it the raising money way. I think the other side of that doesn't look that great, is what I would say to myself. Because You just think if I had more money, problem solved, and it's like, not really. Because what happened with me was money gave me the ability to hire better. So I hired better people. But those better people don't actually come with like that understanding that you want them to. So I hired like a guy that was running Selfridges online, did 1 billion in transactions.
So different.
I was like, okay, he knows all consumer brands. They're day and night are working and they sell $1 billion through their website. How can this guy not know how to optimize PDP pages, blah, blah. He must like be the master at it.
What works for Selfridges will not work for a creator that's never run a product online before, like saying.
Yeah, but it's just, that, and before that he was at ASOS, like he had so much hands-on experience. He ran the whole men's division at ASOS, and like, anyway. So I've been through that, because then if money's not the thing, you'll pay someone 250,000 salary if they're the best. You'll be like, it's worth it. And that's what everyone's always told you. It's all about teams, it's all about hiring the right people, hire people who are experts, all this stuff that I've always heard and read in books. I almost followed that because I had the money, and which ended up being the wrong decision, because I should have stuck to what I was doing. Me and the guys knew we were doing so well, should have stuck to it. Versus trying to do a bigger step, because I thought, shit, we're big now, we need to do big shit. And that's the mentality thing, right? Because when you feel like you're successful, you want to do the next thing, the big thing. Even to the US, like we went probably prematurely, thinking back now in 2019, set up an office, hired people, because you were like, let's go to the US, we've already done it here. I was like, we hadn't done it in the UK. So yeah, that's all I would say. Think very hard before raising money. And that's it.
It's probably a very relevant final comment in 2023 in the market we're in. On that bombshell, it's been a pleasure. I think we probably could have gone for 3 hours, but I'll let you get home. As always, subscribe to the pod. We'll link all the stuff down below, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Cheers for watching.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Peace.
Cheers.